welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. I figured I'd show off some more of my aloe blooms, as well as just make a video about some jade plants. I got tons of projects I'd like to get started, but it looks like we got a cold couple weeks coming up, so I'm going to have to hold off on doing anything with my trees for a bit. But this guy, I figured this would be a good way to introduce the jade as well, because I got a couple cuttings going in here. We'll get a little bit of a closer look in a minute. This aloe hybrid is called Arctic Ice or something like that. I'll try to look it up and put it in the description. But it's got these two older plants with nice blooms. And then see if we can get a little bit better look here. It's got all these little babies coming out. And then one of the reasons why I just also kind of picked it, a couple of jade clippings in here too. And I did want to just kind of go, show a few of my different types of jade. I've got some ribble jade, Gollum, Hobbit, and then also some ovata. You know what I should do first before I run my mouth too much, even though this video wasn't about an aloe. I should clean this guy up. That's got some hideous looking stuff down there, doesn't it? Interesting, there's a pup from this guy pushing right where some of that dried up stuff was. And it almost didn't even look like aloe there, but it is a pup from this. I can see that that's some of the smaller pups that have pushed out. Eventually they start getting the teeth on there. This is gold tooth aloe, I think I mentioned. Or if I didn't, I have now. These two have been in this pot the same amount of time. I'll show you where I got these cuttings from. Probably about the second or third plant that I'll show you or whatever. But there was like 5 cuttings in here. And I did this just as far as jade goes or whatever as a little bit of an experiment where I keep most of my my jade, my dwarf jade, which the Portulacaria afra, which aren't really jade plants or whatever. I keep them in all kinds of different places. I do try to protect some of them from some rain, but they take the rain a little bit better than these guys do. But I keep most of the Crassulas or whatever protected from rain. Sometimes I'll get them out there where they'll get some. They do enjoy it, but they just don't like too much of it. I have most of them where they get just morning sun, and this pot here actually gets quite a bit of afternoon sun. 5 of those cuttings in here. There was some other, when I made this little arrangement or whatever, it was these 2 aloes and some other succulent in here that died. And so I put the 5 in here, and it looks only 2 made it. But quite honestly, I did it like 4 or 5 months ago, and I did it, just put it in, and I never water this at all, because I'm finding that aloe, now it does get the rain when it does rain here or whatever, but it hasn't rained in quite some time here or whatever. And I'm finding, that the jade likes it. And of course, I think sometimes the no rain is actually what helps the aloe bloom. Anyway, that's the introduction to the Crassula there. We'll get some more. Right, and here's some more ovata. Although sometimes not really sure if it's any of the different types of ovata. Those 2 cuttings that I just showed you, they're in probably the most sun I have any jade plant sitting in, except for the maybe the dwarf jade or whatever. You can see a little bit of redness around the tips there. This one gets morning sun. Those little cuttings I just showed you, they get all afternoon sun. There's basically 4 plants in here. I've been planning to go ahead and just trim all of them, because I don't really consider them trees. I don't know if I'm going to go for too much of an aesthetic look, although I think there's a couple I might get rid of completely. That's actually kind of growing out there like a sucker. I don't know if I really wanted that, so I did take that off. And then this one hanging over the edge. Again, I don't really have any jade with any big impressive trunks. This one it's a really small plant there, and the stump's there, and somehow or another it's like fallen over and has this other kind of, it's following right along the soil line. And if you do lay one of these trunks down the soil line and you leave it there long enough, especially if you have the right conditions, which I think I do down here or whatever, it'll eventually kind of root in. And it is doing that, but I don't really want it there. So I'm going to take that out. And let's see if we can see And you can see where it was rooting in a little bit. I have this one in cactus mix potting soil. And since that already has some roots on it, I got a couple other little pots of succulents with some areas in there that don't really have much going on. I may just try to rest it up on the side. As long as it doesn't get disturbed for a while, it should be fine. All right, here's a little more. And I'm not really going to do much to this. This does have a couple rotten leaves right there. Definitely pull those off. But this one is actually the one that I got the cuttings from was with that aloe that you just looked at a little bit ago. And I figured I'd just bring it in. This one's in a little more sunlight than the last one you just looked at. You can see the red tinge around the leaves there. And then just kind of show you what happens when you do trim. When I pruned and got those cuttings, took it from here, and then you almost always just get the 2 more branches. And every now and again you get 3. Every now and again you just get 1. I mean, of course there's always a chance something dies or whatever. Generally speaking, you prune it and then you get 2 branches off of it. Alright, and then we got this other type. 99% sure that this is what they call ripple jade. I'll put the scientific name in the description. Can't really pronounce it. This one I got as a house plant, and I kept it inside. I probably had this for no longer than 6 years, but probably about 5 years. And I kept it inside for about a year. It really, really looked horrible. I was considering throwing it out. And I put it outside trying to get it some more sun. I think I put it in too much sun at first. Got a little bit burnt looking. And now I think I've got it in a good spot. It does look really good. There is about, how many plants do we got in here? It's like 3, maybe one of them with a twin stump, or maybe 4. I have started to notice that it seems as if more of it is hanging over the side. I don't think it gives it a bad look, but I also just kind of realized that there's not much light getting in the middle and the center, and there's some little branches trying to come up there too. So I'm going to go ahead and get it cleaned up. So sometimes even the interior ones, just like right then, I kind of get in there, and just as soon as I touch them a little bit, they kind of fall all off anyway. I do this too. My regular jade sometimes just go in and clean up the middle. I notice at first they'll get a little droopy. This one's already starting to droop a little more just as I pull that off. But then I think I get it back out there in the sun, and it starts to draw back up again, and it doesn't have as much weight on there. So it starts to pick up and starts looking better again. All right, and that is pretty much what I had planned today in terms of cleaning it up. Should allow some more air into there. It does get a little unhappy now. It's drooping almost as much as it was just a minute ago. I think once I get it back out there in the sun, it should pull back up again. I did notice just this branch, that's always going to be kind of growing. It's kind of crossing and shaded out. Not really trying to make a tree out of it, but I am trying to, maybe prune off some stuff that just doesn't make sense. And then this one's so small, and it's underneath all that other stuff that's going to grow more leaves, and it'll just shade that out. And same with this one here. And then there is the one big plant here, and then there's like a second coming off to the side, and then there's one trunk here holding on to all that. And then I noticed that this piece was actually growing out of that trunk, and even though it has some roots dangling there or whatever, just must have died and just rotted off there or whatever. Oh, it's just rotted off there. So I'll get rid of that. Alright, and then there's a couple of these types that have these leaves with this interesting little, I've heard some people call them ogre ears. I do believe, not proper, not scientific, but one of the better nickname for this one would be Gollum. I do believe that there's a smaller one called Hobbit that I think I have that I'll show you here in a minute. But you can see that these are, the leaves and the trunks are quite a bit bigger than that other one that I'll bring it in here in a second. Wasn't planning on doing much with this either, but since I got it in here, I had that one rotten piece that I just pulled right off. I do have some of the regular, or what I think is just regular ovata in the middle there, and that was just, I don't remember how long ago, this was like 5 of these golems, and the middle piece just one day, I don't know, it just rotted right out of there. I went to go even just check, I was like, something's wrong with this thing, and it all just fell apart, and so I scooped those out. But I didn't disturb these because I didn't want to lose them. I haven't taken any cuttings of these yet or anything like that. But some of those bigger bottom leaves I think can go. All right, and last but not least, I do believe that this is the one with the ogre ear type of a look, but this one is the Hobbit. This is really about the healthiest this thing has ever looked. I think part of it is this time of year. Again, when I mentioned earlier about the humidity down here, whatever, this is our lowest humidity time, and I have this protected. It doesn't get any rain, any dew, or anything on it, but it does get really strong afternoon sunshine, and I actually have it in a spot where it gets a little more afternoon sunshine in the winter than it does in the summer. When I say it's the healthiest it's ever been, I mean, just so that I'm not covering anything up or whatever. This was one I had a problem with lizards laying eggs in, and I like to let the lizards do their thing because they're good insect control. I don't really have a lot of problems with mealybugs and aphids and stuff, just because I kind of let nature run its course. And I'm also not a jerk. I don't want to dig up anybody's eggs or whatever. But I think I finally got them away. I was trying to. What it was, they were digging so much in there that it was like losing substrate, and I was trying to not disturb the eggs, but also bring the substrate back up to where it needs to be. So it's all good now, and again, this one just looks so healthy. This has a little piece of, it's just a regular ovata over here too, and that is the best colored of any of them that I have. And so I'm just going to leave this alone for now. I think when it starts to get more humid, I'll notice that some of these will start to get a little sickly on the interior or whatever. And I'll do the same thing I just did with that Dwarf Jade and the other bigger Gollum or whatever.